Alright, it is Sunday night. The weekly candle just closed and a new one just opened, and I want to take a look at Bitcoin's price because we are getting some price action here. Price is pumping up towards a very significant area. So for my last few videos, I have been looking at this value area low basically. We broke down below the value area low, and I have been looking at the idea of retesting this before moving lower. And the reason for that is because I still am looking at this range low as a target. I think as long as we're below value area low, there is still definitely potential for us to reject from it before moving lower. I'm still looking at the range low as a target. However, if we begin to reclaim value area low, I'm going to basically be switching my bias. I'm going to be looking more bullish locally, and I'd probably expect at least a rotation in this range up to probably point of control and potentially higher. And I am aware that we don't have to hit range low. We have front run multiple times key points in this range, specifically the range high. We front ran it multiple times, and I think it's possible we do the same with the range low. So right now, Bitcoin is approaching the value area low. If I clean up this chart a little bit, we are right now very close to hitting the value area low on Bybit. We already passed the one on Binance, and I was looking at this red box as my zone of resistance. The low end is Binance's value area low, the high end is Bybit's. And going back to the Bybit chart, this red line is the value area low, or at least it was at the time. As you updated, it did move down slightly, and we still have not hit it yet. We came very close there. So I want to take a look at Market Cipher as we're approaching this area. And I will also recap what I was looking at in my last video, because I was looking at a more local short idea, which did not end up working out. I did trade this, and I did take a loss on this. So I will run over that trade, see if there were any obvious mistakes I made. Yeah, I mean, we'll try to figure out why I took a loss here. So my idea for this basically was I was looking at this more local range that we formed after getting this significant bounce. This is the wick that front ran the range low. And we began forming this mini range after putting in the low. We had broken down out of that range bearishly, and basically I was looking at, number one, the possibility of us front running Binance's value area low, which is coming in somewhere around here. It was right above the range high. I was looking at the pattern of us front running key levels just overall since all-time high. That's been a pattern that I've seen a lot, and I was saying, hey, maybe we continue lower without hitting the value area low. That's very possible. And so one trade idea I was looking at was maybe backtesting value area low before rotating down farther in what may become, a larger range. We're looking at this as a larger range. We've basically been trading in this mini range in the top half of it. We haven't visited the low half of it. So that was kind of my idea for this short. Now, as price came back up to retest value area low, it did so very quickly. This is, kind of sketchy sign number one. I don't like when price gets this quick of a move up to my level. Sure, there were some retracements on the very low time frames, but looking at Market Cipher, you can see money flow was getting very bullish during that time. As price was putting in its highest point, so was money flow, so there was no money flow divergences. And really the only thing that made me trade this was the local momentum divs, which we saw right here with momentum putting in lower highs as price was kind of climbing higher up to the value area low. So I ended up trading that with a bit of a loose stop, and it started off, it was looking pretty well. We broke very low time frame structure here. It was looking like we may actually start to retrace lower, but eventually I did get stopped out of this trade. I think I had my stop loss above like this high over here, and so I got sniped out right over here. So, I'd say the mistakes were really kind of trusting not great confirmations. If we go down to the lower time frames, I think there might have been some slight money flow divs here. If we zoom in on the 3 minute, it was very slight there, and on the 1 minute, there were some better money flow divs, but still, I'm trusting very low time frame confirmations for this. But, it was an idea I planned for, and it certainly could have worked, so I'm not too upset with taking a loss for that. Now let's do some top-down analysis. I will start off on the weekly time frame, and what we see here is that the VWAP is starting to get a move to the upside. This is, potentially the early sign of us maybe producing some sort of a bottom here. The VWAP is the fastest Market Cipher B oscillator, so it will bottom out before anything else. Now, just because it's moving to the upside does not mean we, are not going to reject from this area. We could easily see this just flop over yet again. We've seen, many failed attempts at a VWAP turning to the upside. This is one example here. we are starting to see a little bit of something on the weekly that's saying, all right, maybe we can see things start turning around here, but it is certainly very early to start calling anything. We see, weekly money flow is getting a little push to the upside here. Could it just be, another lower high for another lower low? If you're kind of marking out all these little pushes, you could see a bit of a trend, and potentially, this is just another slight push to the upside before continuing lower. And momentum, you're starting to see a bit of a slope outwards away from the zero line. You can start to see the angle changing a bit. It's very hard to point this out because drawing on the weekly time frame is impossible, but if I just mark out these 3 points, you can see the angle that is moving downwards from here to here is pointing more downwards than the angle in this second part of the box, right? The angle is kind of sloping outwards a bit, maybe showing that it wants to start curving away from the zero line. But again, it's very early to tell. And looking at the overall picture, we have seen VWAP put in a lower low. Momentum is definitely still pointing to the downside. So yeah, we're seeing some early signs that maybe things want to start reversing, but I think the bigger picture is still pointing to the downside right now. Now, we are seeing the daily money flow really get a push to the upside. This is starting to look like, a pretty decent curvature in money flow. So it is starting to look more and more likely that price may actually bottom out with just this fat anchor wave down here, and with really no lower time frame confirmations on the low. Typically, when I see, one of these fat anchor waves and I'm thinking, okay, maybe that marks the bottom, maybe we don't need to see, a really good setup with divergences on the low on the daily time frame. Usually I'd like to see lower time frames kind of back that up with divergences, and I talked about how we didn't see that. We actually saw momentum put in its lowest point as price did. We saw money flow basically do the same thing. Yeah, we didn't see really any good bottom signals on that low, and really all we're seeing on the daily is a fat anchor wave with money flow now starting to turn to the upside, but that could do it. There certainly isn't great confirmations on every single pivot point. You can expect that some of them are going to be wonky, and maybe this is one of them. Now, going down to the 4 hour, something interesting here. First off, I'll say that we are seeing money flow start to curve to the upside. This, is potentially filling out as just a very drawn out, extended curvature, and maybe we see money flow cross to the upside now. We're seeing momentum get a very strong push to the upside. It just got above the 60 line, which is a sign of strength. This, is typically a place where once momentum gets above this point, you can see pretty aggressive moves. And looking at previous ones, we got a pretty aggressive move there. Definitely an aggressive move here. Pretty aggressive move here. This one, not so much. We, kind of topped out at the 60 line though. But this is happening while price is still below the value area low. Now that can change very quickly. We have very quickly pushed up to this value area low. I would not be surprised if, before I upload this video, price is already above it. I would not be surprised at that, but as of right now, we are still below critical resistance, and we do potentially have some kind of a bearish sign with hidden bearish divergences, meaning momentum has gone on to put in higher highs from basically all of these trigger waves back here, yet price is putting in a lower high. It's known as a hidden div, and basically the logic behind it is, wow, look at all the bullish strength that was required just to push price up to this point to put in a lower high. Once that bullish strength runs out, I think, there's a good chance that we could see a rejection from there, right? It took a lot of bullish strength just to put in a lower high. That's not very bullish if you think about it like that. And really the way to avoid that, in my opinion, is price needs to, number one, get above the value area low, and then it needs to start getting above some of these lower highs in which we have right now hidden bearish divs from. We can start taking out these highs, then, okay, I'd say that is voided. And really, that's most of what I wanted to talk about here. I don't want to talk about too much locally because who knows what's going to happen in the short term. Again, by the time I upload this in like an hour or so, price could have already broken above here, or it could have already rejected. Things are moving very fast at the moment. I'm definitely being a little cautious to look for any trades right now, at least not without a proper setup. If we see some kind of a setup on a lower time frame, that is something I would consider, but for right now, it is looking kind of unlikely that we will see a proper low time frame setup with how aggressive this is being. But we did just front run value area low. There could be a potential setup on a lower time frame where we just SFP into that area get some bearish divs, and that could be a local setup, but I'm certainly being cautious at the moment. And I think that's it for this video. I just wanted to hop on and give a quick market cipher update since we have just printed a new weekly candle, and we are right now approaching a very important point, so we will see what happens from here. Alright, thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I appreciate the support on my channel, and I will see you all in the next one.